You seem to have forgotten that I am a woman.
Okay then. Well, let's step it up a notch then.
Cheers.
Yay!
All right.
Very exciting.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to Haus Haux. I am your host, Ani Moush, and I am here with my friend and nurse and wonderful person, Kerry Parsons.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to ask you a lot of dumb questions today.
There is no such thing.
But I think that you have all of the answers.
I'm going to assertively answer them like I do. So sounds good to me.
Kerry's also known as Nurse Sunshine. You guys should go follow her right now. Check out her website. She has so many resources on them there. I know that for a fact because I created her website for her.
Yes, she did.
So thank you again for that opportunity.
Thank you for doing it. It came out really great. Everybody's
so
really
much.
impressed by it.
Thank you. That's awesome to hear. I want to dive in a little bit to like what you do and like who you are. And the reason why I wanted to have you on was you are a positive person.
Thank
and
you.
I need positive people in my life.
Thank you.
And I feel like you are someone who is very encouraging of like following your dreams.
Yes.
And like accessing different parts of you to like best do that and like be your best and highest self.
Yes, definitely.
So I'm a higher self advocate and I think you are too.
Try to be, yes.
Yeah. I want to like dive a little bit into that. We'll go into like your different studies and stuff, but tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I am I'm a person that believes in everybody. I believe that we are all connected to each other. I believe in the greater good. I believe in our ability to change and make a difference in each other's lives. And so that is like my mission in life. And as a nurse, I get to do that all the time, just by helping see people the way they deserve to be seen, the way that they should be seen, and then allowing them to be that person in my presence and actually like feel what that feels like and then feel like they can do that around other people as well.
That's
and continue
amazing.
doing that by integrating things in their life that help them do that. So
That's amazing. So that kind of encapsulates like what Nurse Sunshine I think is.
Thank you. That's great. I've been really looking up how to sum that up.
Good thing we're recording this. You can go back and type that out.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's difficult, like thinking about like mental health, like in general, and everybody's like, oh, what's your niche? Like, what?
Yeah.
I don't really have one. Like, my niche is like anybody that's looking to help themselves, anybody that's looking to take a step forward, anybody that's even curious about doing that. Like, it's really.
But that's a special lens. Like, I don't think everybody has that lens. Like, not everybody has that patience. Not everybody has like a slice of sunshine in them at all. Like, never mind a whole bunch. But I mean, I think that that's not only a skill, but like a gift too, you know? So how was that like born for you? Like, where did you come up with that?
Oh my God. I was born like this.
You've just been calling yourself Nurse Sunshine since like.
No, so Nurse Sunshine originated from my patients.
Oh,
like
very
I
cool.
just had like multiple patients in different places. Like I've worked inpatient crisis stabilization for like almost the past 10 years.
Oh my God.
So these are people that are like in the hospital involuntarily most of the time because they're experiencing some of the worst, scariest moments of their life and are unsafe to be out in the general public because, you know, our society is not conducive to that type of behavior.
Yeah.
And sometimes people act in really, really scary ways.
Yeah.
So,
and is your typical like patient that you saw like someone who like chemically was imbalanced, or maybe they were like suffering from like a circumstance, or what?
So I really believe in like trauma informed care. That's a huge the center of my practice. And I believe that, you know, everybody experiences trauma differently, and that leaves whatever it leaves on your brain, your body, and then some internal process because of genetics, and then because of environment, kind of all is just like this perfect storm, and then people can't handle it, you know. Like your brain and your body can only handle so much stress is the problem, and people respond to stress differently for so many different reasons that we're not able to articulate that in a way that we can just say, this is the cause and this is the answer. And that's what's really difficult about mental health. Yeah. And that's why it's difficult for people to understand that it's really all of these things. Like, we can't just take one pill. We can't just, you know, do one thing. And then every
generation has their like new thing because of the previous generations. Like burnout's a thing now. Right. Like an actual thing. It's not just like a term that's thrown around now. And I don't
100%.
think enough people know that, actually. Like, I actually learned that was a real like medical condition not that long ago. Yeah. You know?
Well, it's something that in the medical community that has been kind of like hush hush. Like, no, like burnout. Like, you're here to burn out. Yeah. You're here to, like, you know, you're here to be compassionate and, like, you know, just like serve the people and do whatever anybody wants you to do. But the reality is that, yeah, we are there to do that. And I'll do that day after day. That's what fulfills me. That's what makes me feel good. But I'm not going to do that for a system that's going to pinch pennies and make me pay for parking to come save, you know, to come do what I love to do and in turn save lives. Like, no, I'm not going to work for you and adhere to your like arbitrary crap. I'm not going to do that. I can't do that. That's what burns me out, is the political nature of hospitals, of healthcare, of insurance, and just like people are dying of brain cancer and they're worried about paying their bills. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? And
I got laid off like right at the beginning of COVID in like April of 2020, at the beginning of a pandemic, and I lost my insurance. I'm like, that is worse than
savage.
That's worse than me losing my job. That's worse than me losing my like being able to contribute to like my 401k. Like, you're taking away my insurance during a global pandemic where I don't know when state health or like public health is going to get to me or how good it's going to be. No. You know what I mean?
How stressful.
Oh my God.
How upsetting, how stressful, how just like mind blowing is it? Yeah. It's like, what is going on here? Yeah. And that, I think, is like, you know, that's why it's also, I think sometimes I'm like difficult to have a conversation with, because it goes from like here to to like the government.
We'll bring it down. We'll bring this down. Take a sip. I mean, Jesus. You know what I mean?
Like, but really, because it's like it's so like systemic.
We just went through it. That's why it hits a nerve.
I know, and it's just it is just so unfair. Like, so many people are just suffering so much, and like I just shared with you, like so I've worked in the hospital. I've worked in a hospital setting for the past 10 years. I've done freestanding psych, and then worked in like a general medical facility, and I just can't do it anymore. Like, it was always difficult for me anyway. Just in dealing with the rules and regulations and policies and why is this important, and there are a lot of important ones, but like really it all comes down to like liability and people protecting their own asses. And it's like, but we're here for the patients. Like, aren't we? Like, you know, I felt like they were suffering a lot more than they should be in a hospital.
And you worked with kids like also, so that's a whole nother layer of things too. I can't even imagine. Oh my God. Okay, well, now it's time for me to ask you a stupid question. I'm gonna quickly segue. Okay, so can we talk about psychedelics for a second,
please,
and different ways that of like healing through psychedelics?
Oh yeah,
because I feel like there's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of things that people don't know, and there's a lot of like frivolous use, I think, too.
Yes.
And for a very, 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 very long time, I had no interest in psychedelics at all. And I knew that eventually one day, if I were to be okay with it, that I was going to do very specific things and like go in with intention.
Intention is very important.
I think that is a very special case, and not everybody thinks like that.
Exactly.
So I want to provide like our listeners with some general knowledge and then also your specific study on it and like what you've seen, what you think works and what doesn't work, and just some like what people should know too. Yeah. Like in general.
Oh, love to. Yes. Thank you for asking the question, actually.
You have the floor.
I think, it's been, so it's interesting because I've worked in a teaching hospital. I just finished my master's degree. And so,
congratulations
things are,
again.
Thank you. Things are supposed to be very, peer reviewed and scientific and proven. And like really my original experience with psychedelics was like, I went to music festivals and like saw people on them and saw transformation just like there. And then, but then would like, and just like be around these people that walked the walk. They were the ones that were doing the meditation. They were doing yoga. They were eating clean and like, these were happy people.
Yeah.
So, I think that we're really on like such a precipice of like disaster as far as people's mental health go, because we've been ignoring it for so long that we've now found something that alters people's perception of reality enough that they realize that like you can have whatever reality you want. And like,
and some people like to stay stuck there.
Yeah. Because your reality is actually really difficult to achieve, but like it's achievable. Like everybody can do that. We just need to put the steps. We just need to, we need to put the resources in place.
Yeah.
So, psychedelics, going back to the trauma thing, is like, so your brain does a wonderful job at protecting you. That's what its main goal is to protect you. So that bases all of your reactions from your experiences, and you're never really like living presently or fully in the moment unless you're mindfully doing that, because your brain has assumed how to react to what's going on around you. Right. Like it's not living there with you. It's projecting constantly. Like, what's next? What do I need to prepare myself for? Yeah. So psychedelics allow you to just quiet the things that need to be quieted, and amplify things that maybe need to be amplified. And so sometimes people need to go through a rebirth. Sometimes people need to go through a horrible trip. Sometimes people need to go through the woods with the demons and the dragons and like really be held in this space, but then they've processed it. Yeah. And they come out on the other side and they've had this different type of perspective that allows them to be like, I don't need to live there anymore. Yeah. I think our society is very identity driven, ego driven. We're all, who are we? What are we? What are we to
and
other
what
people
want us to be?
Right. What are we to other people? And I think that that's like what people are concentrating on too much of the time. And that's what we do as children. We're looking to other people to help make decisions, and other people are making decisions for us all the time. Yeah. So I think that's why it's so difficult to like transition into adulthood. And that's why we have so many people that are lost right now, because like their parents told them like, oh, this is what you should do to be happy. And they're like, I don't want to be an accountant.
And then they're also okay with being at home because they have to be, because financially, like they're so drowning from like student debt and all that stuff. And then it stunts your growth as an adult. Like I went through that, and then I left my parents' house in a very abrupt way. Okay. It was, I will full face admit, it was not the way to do it, but I did it, and like we got through it.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Had to do it.
People are just like, now is the time. If I don't do it now, it'll never happen.
That's how I felt. Yeah. That's how I felt. There was a moment, and it was the tipping point, and like it totally just changed my entire life. Yeah. I'm happy it did though, because like ultimately that needed to happen for me to like be a big girl. So I'm happy that. But then, anyways, we're going back to psychedelics because you have experience with like research and different things.
So I ended up working with a really amazing psychiatrist. Did my practicum with him, and he's tied into the ketamine, he's doing ketamine. He's doing intravenous ketamine and S-ketamine, intranasal ketamine with patients, and really just started up a ketamine clinic. And I voiced my interest to him and just saying like, I feel like this stuff is going to work, and just have gone from there. So have sat with a lot of people that have done intravenous ketamine and kind of guided them through those experiences, and then came up with a group program for people that have had psychedelic experiences and are looking to integrate those experiences into their life. Mm-hmm. So the thing with ketamine is that ketamine helps people, in my experience, a lot of times helps people, for not that long of a period of time. We could say like maybe there's like 5% of people that really like do it and they're just like, I'm good. Yeah, I got the message. I'm on my way to the next level.
Message received.
Right. Like this has changed my life.
Check,
this
please.
experience.
Yeah.
But the other 95%, like they got to work with it a little bit. Like you got to keep having those feelings, because the thing about depression, anxiety, every other mental illness is that it's repetition. Mm-hmm. You're doing the same thing over and over again. So that pathway is really strong. That assumption about the world and how things are going to happen is like, it's autopilot, it's automatic. And so to change that pathway, to get it to think something else, or to get it to even question or consider something else, it takes a lot of time and energy and effort, and it takes a support network to help you do that. So I think that part of what's missing, and working in an inpatient setting, group therapy is how people get better. It's shared experience. The reality is like this is the human experience, and you might be having a psychotic break and think that the CIA are looking at your bank records and like listening to your phone calls, and this one might think he's Jesus Christ, and then this one might just be like, the air quality is going to be shit in 11 years. Like, what is the point? Yeah. And you have all of these people there, but they're all just like, I'm not accepted. That's really what it all comes down to. I think these people are not accepted. How are we to foster people's growth and like belonging if we tell them that they need to be somewhere because their ideas are so outrageous? Like I don't know, like if you're going to hurt yourself or another person and you need to be protected and cared for, like obviously that's another situation. But like if you're allowed to be weird, like, and weird is like a wide spectrum, like you're allowed, and I don't want to say like you're allowed to be crazy, but like you are, like go be crazy over there. I remember, and I tell this story often, but like I was at work and there was this kid who was like, he was like 25. And so I started like working on inpatient psych, when I was 23 years old. So like I was with people my own age that were so sick. And like, that was my reality check to the world. Like I had done a lot of, in college or whatever, but I grew up in the woods in New Jersey on a lake. Like my life was a vacation. So like then I like check into like mental health 101 on the inpatient psych unit, and I'm like, holy shit, what is going on? Like what are we doing to people here? Like
is this the world? Like
I was like, my whole like life was rocked. I was just like, oh my God, how do we help all of these people? Like we need to solve, like I didn't sleep, like how do we solve homelessness? Why is there food insecurity? Like I knew that these things existed, but like I never really had, like I had done, I'd gone into New York City and fed homeless people, but it was just like such like a, like I'm here to help people. Like it was just like I don't know, like it just didn't register the same way as like all of a sudden it did. And and I think that when the psychiatrist that I was working with the ketamine. So then like bigger things come from that. Now we're talking about doing psilocybin. We're talking about doing MDMA, which is in like phase 3 clinical trials. And like, how are we going to continue to use these psychedelics in ways and what type of treatment are we going to provide people besides just these medications, just these drugs, because it's more than that.
So for someone who's dumb or like myself, like explain the difference between those 3 things that you just said.
So they're different chemical makeups.
Okay.
So they affect your body. They affect your brain and your body differently. I mean, essentially, I guess essentially don't really affect your body in very many ways at all. They're just affecting your brain. So that process kind of flows through your body.
And so would the chemical that you use in these trials, or however you do in your therapy, it would depend, like, do you match them up to like which one would be the best fit, or like how would you go about doing that?
Very interesting point. So the thing is that, so right now in psychiatry, we match, symptoms to neurotransmitters, which relate to the medications that we're going to put on people, or give to people, so that can fix whatever's going on. We can take a little bit more neurotransmitter here. We can save some serotonin. We can allow it to absorb a little bit more. So then finally, we feel a little bit happier. We feel a little bit more, like ourselves today. So MDMA is more like a relational, like we're learning that this is very good in like couples therapy, and like it really kind of, people that have been traumatized and people that have been through a lot of really challenging obstacles and experiences in their life have a really difficult time like believing that Kerry Parsons is here to actually help them move through that, or actually gives a shit about that, because nobody's ever given a shit about them in their entire life. And so that's really difficult for some people to accept.
Yeah, you and I both have the face that people just want to tell stuff to.
Yeah.
Like the amount of shit that I fucking know that I shouldn't know this. It's just people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, totally. 100%. I think like it happens all the time. And I was just telling somebody the other day, it's like, I mean, I literally, like, you're standing in line and you're just like, maybe because I like comment on a lot of things too. I don't mean like, and then you just like draw into it's like we were just talking about mints a second ago, and now we're like on to like alimony and like your divorce 3 years ago, and like just all of these other things. Like things just starts up. People just start to unload very quickly. Yeah. And like, people need to have more faith, but it's fine.
Is really the point. But yeah. Okay. So I'm going to use myself as an example, right? Let's say that because if I'm going to do any of this, first of all, I would want you to guide me through anything anyways.
Thank you. I would love to.
You're the perfect guide in my opinion.
Thank you.
So if I, for instance, because I'm just trying to understand like there's so many different kinds of therapies, right? Yes. I've been going to like traditional like therapy for 5 years. I think it's very beneficial. Talk therapy. Love my therapist. She's great. It really is about routine. Everybody has their own therapy, right? But I feel like after a certain amount of years, like sometimes you need to explore different routes to like, if you're not getting there, then you need to like figure out a different way. Yeah. So for someone like myself that like knows where maybe the source is, but like can't get there in my brain, like if I walked into a therapy session with you, what would that look like? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
So I just kind of like questioned like source as in like source, or like your own source, or like the actual answer to what's going on with you, why you can't find the answer. Like
if I think I know, this is why I can't get to this thing, and I've been going to this type of therapy for this long and I can't get there. I need to find a different way to access that part of my brain, right? That would be like the point. I think like what would that therapy session look like?
I mean, I base a lot of it off of what people feel like they need.
Oh, really? Okay.
And the thing is that people usually don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah,
so
that was the first thing that came to mind.
So we need to figure out why you don't know what you need.
Yeah.
Like how you base your needs. I have learned over time, like my needs, I don't have needs. I have everybody else's needs. And that I find that fulfilling to me. But as I've gotten older and in different relationships, I've figured out that like I need more in that relationship. And then so from giving and giving, then you tend to feel resentful, or you tend to like, now the balance is off in that relationship. So you have to be able to talk about it. You have to be able to advocate for yourself. Nobody's a mind reader.
Right.
So like we have to learn how to communicate, and I happen to be a very communicative person, but when you're afraid of a reaction from somebody, that prevents you from communicating a lot of the time. So a lot of times, people are put in situations where they don't feel like they can communicate, and then they assume what they think the end result is going to be when they do communicate. So a lot of times I'm just walking through that with people.
Which like comes from trauma.
100%.
Right?
100%.
And that's hard when like you can't even figure out your own trauma. How is someone else supposed to figure?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it's not figuring out like exactly what happened. It's just figuring out how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Like it's figuring out that like, you know, I just can't move through this. Like, I don't know. And I don't know why. Like a lot of people are just like, I just feel, in my experience, a lot of the time it's just like this really, it's existential stuff. It's like, to the core, I don't feel loved or belonging. I don't know who I am. Like this identity type thing that like you're aligned with an identity that doesn't resonate with you. Yeah. And I think that our society is jamming square pegs into round holes all the time. And I think that that's part of the reason why people are so depressed is because like you're trying to live up to this expectation that doesn't resonate at all. That was
pretty much my whole life, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm sure it happens to a lot of people, but like, you know, I come from like a foreign, like, you know, traditional like background where it's not that I wasn't encouraged to do what I wanted creatively. Right. But there is an expectation. There's like for every area of your life set forth before you even exist in the world. And it's like, if you've seen examples that it didn't work out with, you know, then it's scary. Yeah, very. You know, so
very. I mean, we live in a fear-driven society. Yeah. Like once, and that was a really difficult thing for me to accept. But over the COVID situation, I have accepted that reality 100%. It's like what we are showing people and what we are telling people and how we are telling people and communicating information is killing people. Yeah. Like is really, really one of the biggest issues that we're having right now. And I don't know why we're not like, everybody just shut off their TV. Like everybody just needs to just connect with each other. And I think, you know, which like connection through like the internet and like how everybody kind of like is so available to each other all the time, I think is a whole nother, like we're connected, but we're never really connected. A lot of people say like in therapy, especially, I was just having this conversation with some of my colleagues, which is like, it's so necessary for presence. Like Zoom is fine once in a while. Like you know, like I can connect with people on Zoom. That's like perfectly fine. But like if you're having a really hard time, I need to pick you up in my car and we need to go get a coffee and sit at the beach and cry about it. Yeah. And process it. And our healthcare system is not designed to that. So I'm out. Like that's Nurse Sunshine is like my way out of that. I'm not doing that. I need to pick you up with my dog in the back and we figure out what's going to go on today and what's going to go on for the next 3 days, because this is the space you're going to be in because your mom just died, or you know, or your boyfriend just broke up with you, or whatever happened, or somebody said something to you and it triggered something that you're really sensitive about from 10 years ago. Like whatever it is, you got to work through it with somebody. And
you need a foundation to like start from, you know, that you can count on. And like, I mean, just speaking like openly, you know, and everyone went through shit in the past like year, but we have gone through so many changes with moving and our business and like so many things, and not having like being away from like our friends and family, like our core, like friends and family, was extremely hard. Yes. You know, extremely, extremely hard. So it was like, well, I know that I'm in this state. I have to make the extra effort to like at least get to them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's so needed. And like people need to be reminded that you need like that connection. Right. You know, so.
And lucky that you had those people to feel connected to. Yeah. Because a lot of people are just kind of like, they don't feel and a lot of this comes from trauma too. It's like your inability to have a healthy relationship with somebody because you don't know how to have a healthy relationship with somebody. And like I can tell you right now, like Google it. Like it's not lying. Like Google it, read those things about how to have a healthy relationship, and then really try to do that. Like look at all of your relationships and think about them. Be like, huh, like why do I let this person treat me like that? And how does that ripple affect me like later. Like I might say like, oh, it's fine, I'm good with it. I'm a very passive person. So, and I feel like, you know, even to the point where it's like, you want to steal something from me or take advantage of me, like whatever. I know that that's your problem. I can't internalize that until it's like with a person that you're very, very close. You've allowed this like vulnerability with. Right. You know, my interactions are like, it's not, I can have a very deep conversation with somebody very quickly. So they feel a different type of connected to me that they do than other people. That's because I'm a therapist, but that's also, but that's because I want to know about you. Like that's what's important to me, because this is our experience. Like if you're hurting, so am I. And that's like, that was something that was very difficult to like figure out as like a kid, was like, why am I so connected to that person's experience? Why am I so connected to the animals that I can't eat them? Like why am I like crying because there's like a lobster that's cooked in front of me? Like I just didn't know. I couldn't work all of that out. But actually psychedelics work all that out as well. It's like, oh my God, it's because like we're all here together. Like just working it all out. And like, so I don't want to be anybody's like suffering. I don't want to add to that. I only want to help us move in a better direction. Like when one suffers, we all suffer. I truly believe that. So, you know, that I think that psychedelics get people on that level as well, which is like, oh man, like this is not only my experience, this is all of our experience. And the longer I continue to stay here and get stuck here, the longer everybody else continues to suffer as well. Like I have to take a step forward for myself, but also for the world, for the universe, for the future. So as like heavy as that is, it's also like very empowering.
And
I think
it affects like the immediate people around you too. Like, you know, because you're a combination of like the 6 people that you surround yourself with the most, you know? So if you feel like your part is suffering and like not getting enough nourishment, then you're also not giving that back to the people that you surround yourself with. Exactly. So that, you know, is harmful. We don't want that.
You can't drink from an empty cup. So like you have to do these things for yourself. And healthcare providers, like people think that it's like, oh, I'm being a selfish person to like do these things for myself, which is sometimes it's just like be alone. Like rest your brain. Like binge Netflix. Like it's okay to do that. Those things, it's been very hard for me to like allow myself to do like leisure activities, because my parents were, you know, you're driven. I'm a driven person. So like on to the next, like, what are we doing now? What am I working on? Like blah, blah, blah. Like I never give myself a minute to breathe. And so, and that feels foreign to me when I do that, but like, that's necessary. And now like, you know, people need to sleep. Like this society takes pride in not sleeping. It's like,
it's also very hard too. Well, like, even though it's great. And like, I'm a huge advocate for working from home, obviously, but like, when we moved to New York, we lived in a studio. Now we live, thankfully, not in a studio. But I mean, we still like work from our space, and like there needs to be separation from like your brain needs to understand like this is work and like this is life, so that you can shut it off when it needs to be shut off, you know?
I think like I can break that down very simply as to like your brain cannot fall asleep in your bed if you do other things in your bed besides sleep in it. Like your brain's just like, oh wait, like even if you know, maybe you can read a little bit or whatever, but if you're like in your bed and you're watching TV and you're reading, you're answering emails and you're on the phone, you're doing all this other things, when you go to lay down, your brain's like, nope.
Oh yeah.
Let me scroll through the 80 things that I do in my bed. If you only go to sleep in your bed, that's what you do.
When you lay down insomnia, in bed, you go right to sleep. Of depression. Oh my God, dude, we're not going anywhere.
Like you're stuck there.
My God, that was a few years of my life, like dead ass. Because I mean, there's nothing like whatever. When I lived at home, there's nothing wrong with my parents' house, but my space was I didn't have enough space for separation of things. Like,
Right.
if you're doing work and you're like going to grad school and like
Yep.
your only social space is also your bedroom, like in your home.
Right.
Like, obviously you're not going to want to be there. And obviously
Right.
like it's going to be really hard to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lot. And like, I had to learn that. Like,
Yeah.
that took so long to figure out,
Yeah.
And then from there it got easier.
Yeah, but you figured it out. But you also wanted to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I think that like part of the fear with psychedelics is like people, like we were saying earlier, like people just like that feeling like right in that moment, and then they're not doing anything to kind of like live it and figure out how to make it work for their life for however long. It's just like, oh, let me just like drop acid again and I'll be like good for those 12 hours. like I mean, maybe you will, but
like,
maybe it'll also.
It's crazy because I mean, I'm not gonna name names, but like there are people that we know. There are people that we know that just they don't live here. They don't live on this planet.
No.
And like, dude, I'm all for psychedelics. I'm all for like doing things in moderation.
Yeah.
And like live your life, dude. Like you got one life. As long as you're not hurting anyone and you're like not being a piece of shit.
Yep.
Fucking you go for it.
Agreed.
But if you're when you're like calibration system of like what being a piece of shit is out of whack and you don't think it is, and you're not willing to listen about it being out of whack, then like that's an issue. That's an issue. Like you have to fix that because now you're hurting the people that surround you.
Right.
And like sometimes that needs to be severed, which sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, hopefully you can like use it as a curing thing and like medication and like deal with things in a healthy way in this reality.
Yes.
So that you can experience that other reality in a more healthy way too. Right.
Well, so you're saying like important things for people to know about this are like the people you're doing it with, the environment that you're in, and your mind state going into it are the core, like are the key principles of this entire equation. And like you have to, it can be life changing. So like treat it with that much respect and like do your research, talk to somebody that knows about it, go on a trip with a person that can guide you through it if things go wrong, trust that person who knows what they're doing. There are things that you need to do. I can't tell you how many people are like, I've had the worst trip, I'll never do mushrooms again, like I had the worst trip of my life, or like whatever acid or whatever they've done. And it's like, I mean, if that's how you feel about it and you feel that strongly about it, then don't do it. But like you also did 7 tabs at like somebody's birthday, like in a weird,
and you don't know
situation.
Where it came from.
Yeah. Like
someone just pulled it out of their trench coat and you're like, yeah, I'll take 12.
Shit might get weird, just saying. But, also later on, if you do have one of those experiences, talk to a person like me.
Yeah.
Because then like we can work out all of what happened and you won't get stuck there.
Right.
Like, and that won't be like a dream that you go back to all the time.
Right.
Or like a thought that you have repetitively or a rabbit hole that you go down. Like you still had that experience and it was traumatic to the point where you've said that you're never doing something again. And it was scary. So like you need to talk about it. Like that's the thing with trauma too, is like you just need to talk about it. And honestly, these drugs just help people do that. They just like take down the wall that where everybody's like just too ashamed or embarrassed or whatever to just say like, this is what happened and this fucked me up.
Yeah.
And it could be from, people not loving you correctly to some really, really like horrible shit that you see on Dateline or something. Like really like the spectrum of trauma is very different for everybody, and we really shouldn't compare people's just experiences that really rocked them like to each other. It is what it is. If you're here ready to fix it, then that's what we want. Like, that's all we want for everybody. Is just like the realization that like I deserve better than this and I'm capable of it. So let me step into that
and to not be
persona.
afraid of what that is.
Yeah.
That's like the other element of it too, is because I think people are sometimes afraid of like what the reality is.
Yes.
And because it requires either work or
yes,
accountability,
failure a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yep. And like you can work through that too if you're here and ready and willing, right? Yep. But it's just a matter of like being ready to do that.
Right.
So speaking of accountability, I'm gonna do our segment of accountability. So this is the part where I ask my guest to maybe think about something that you either are working on or maybe need a little bit of a nudge and you need to like manifest it into the world. And this is where I am supposed to update everyone on what I did from the last week to work on my art and get it out into the world. I don't remember what I said I was going to do, but what I did do is I organized my entire Etsy store so it looks very clean. I added products to it. It's all 20% off. And this episode comes out on Black Friday.
Nice.
So everybody go check out my Ani Moush Etsy. And also you can check out my website too if you want to be really fancy. But there's shit on there and it's 20% off. So yay, accountability. I did a thing.
I looked at it today actually and it looked really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I also, I'm going to put it out into the world. A couple different boutique shops have been asking if they can have my product in their store.
Ooh.
So that's super exciting. So look out for that. That'll happen eventually. But like, yay, I'm getting big, motherfuckers. You better buy my shit from Too Good for All of you.
You'll never be.
Nah. But I appreciate that and like, thank you. Appreciation to everything.
That's really exciting.
Thank you. I'm very excited about that. Oh, I think what I did say last week is I was gonna work on my coloring book, and I did work on it. It's fucking getting there. It's getting there. I just told Kerry about it.
Yeah, it's gonna be so
and
great.
It's gonna be great.
So stoked about it.
I haven't said this explanation that I told you before this podcast on the podcast yet because I want to hold myself accountable to getting it done and then presenting it to everyone. So I'm just gonna keep talking about this phantom coloring book project. But
I have a pre-order. Get the pre-order.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Thank you. So is there anything that you want to put out there into the world that you're gonna do or work on?
So I am looking for clients who have done psychedelics and had like profound experience or just had some type of experience and that are looking to integrate their experience into life and in a group setting. So we're going to do this over Zoom because of COVID. So hopefully I'm like looking to connect people from like all around the country as well, all around the world.
That's so cool.
'Cause, like, I'm sure you have 1 million followers. So, like anybody that's looking to just kind of talk about that and share it with other people and build on that experience, like hit me up on nursesunshine.com. I'm looking for other, I do some meditation and I do restorative retreats. So people that are looking to maybe take a couple days to rest their brains and bodies, reconnect, eat really good food, be with really good people, have really good conversation. Let me know, look it up, and just trying to get the ball rolling on all of that. So really, really exciting stuff.
For sure. Yeah. Definitely check that out. Can they follow you anywhere?
Yeah, I'm at the.nurse.sunshine on Insta. And you can find me. You can go from there. Anything. Yeah, message me and let's connect.
Beautiful.
So exciting.
Beautiful. And I'll just throw my plugs because we're there. You guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ani_Moush. Follow all my projects I post there. Yay to that. And like I said, today's the day that this is coming out. It's Black Friday. So go check out Ani Moush on Etsy, all one word. BYMOUSH on Etsy, and everything's 20% off. So check it out. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later, host. Thank you, Kerry, for coming on. I appreciate you so much.